What's up, my friends? We're back for another edition of Tales from Tulsa, and it's a special episode because we don't have a musician talking today, but it's the guy that provided the equipment to start this podcast. And he's been a friend of mine for about, golly, it's been 6 years. I've known you over a decade.
Man.
That's ridiculous. But anyway, he has two podcasts of his own, Tales from Tulsa and Dead Hour podcast. Listen to both of them on iTunes and SoundCloud. We've known each other since 2011. He used to be my manager. I always had to call him Mr. Catlin, which apparently he didn't like. But now I'm trying to get used to calling him Jordan without fear of being fired or getting written up. But anyway, we are here on location at the Tales from Tulsa headquarters, and we're gonna have a really fun time today. Everyone, welcome Jordan Catlin. Woo!
Hey guys.
Yay! And the dogs. Woo!
Yeah, the dogs are here too. Thanks for having me, bro.
Yeah, thanks for coming on. I didn't think that I was going to have to do an Origins podcast this early on how it got started, but we had a couple cancellations on me, and Jordan was nice enough to help me out this week. But he may not be a musician, but he's wearing a Sublime T-shirt. He got ready for this podcast.
Absolutely.
Good rhythm and Sublime.
Very long time. Probably wore it whenever we were having those meetings back at the theater.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Yeah, which is almost over a half a decade ago.
Yeah.
Which is weird. That was sophomore year of college that I started working at TCC, or started working at the movie theater.
Yeah.
I was going to TCC. I'm working at TCC now, but yeah.
That's where I started whenever I was in college too.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Where? What'd you work in?
TCC. I started at the theater while I was there because I was like, it's right there near the campus. I can get there. I can do school. I can get to work.
Mm-hmm. Thankfully, I was always able to get off for the days I had to go to school. Like, I only went like Tuesdays, Thursdays, and so nobody cares if you can't work Tuesday or Thursday.
Oh yeah.
I worked every Friday and Saturday though.
That's when we were busy.
yeah. I mean, I was working at the Dollar Theater not too long ago, and since I'm a musician, I can't work weekends, and they're like, this is only really going to work for the summer. It's like, I understand.
Yeah.
But,
that's the movie theater life.
Yeah. So, how long have you been doing these podcasts?
Man, we've been doing them, we just realized, 2 years now.
Yeah.
That we've been doing.
Yeah, I was here for that one.
Yeah.
I didn't know if you'd been doing Dead Hour longer than Tulsa.
We started Dead Hour, man, I'm trying to think. I think we started it shortly after we started practicing for Tales from Tulsa.
Practicing?
There's not a real good way to put it. Our first several attempts at recording the podcast, actually with this microphone you have here, this program you're using, we went through a lot I screwed up a lot because I'm the technical guy.
You are the technical guy.
I do all the recording, editing, and all that for the show.
And it's funny, the joy from Jordan's face goes completely out as soon as he stops recording because he's like, I gotta edit all this down. Gotta find all the funny out of context parts, put the wah onto the podcast.
I mean, that part's not so bad because I write it all down. Try.
Write the time down.
Sometimes we get into it, and I know there's a bunch of funny stuff going on, a bunch of good stuff. If you just came in and heard that one line, you'd be like, "What the? What the hell are they talking about?"
Yeah, I think first time I was here, one of the things you isolated from me was I was talking about bombing the taint in North Korea or something like that.
Yeah, it's just such a good line. Like, I want to make the intro into something that draws people in. Like, what are they talking about? How does this come up?
Yeah.
What are these guys thinking?
Yeah.
So you gotta listen to it, and they get progressively longer every time we do it, it seems like.
You basically play the whole podcast and you go back to the theme song again.
Yeah. But yeah, it's been about 2 years. We did the practicing, like I was saying. We drank a lot when we did this.
Oh, that's practice.
And we didn't have a place to do it. It was either my house or Ryan's house.
Mm-hmm.
So at the time, it was just me and him. We hadn't gotten Jesse in on the fold yet.
Mm-hmm.
So we were doing it like on the coffee table at his house on a Friday night, Saturday night.
Mm-hmm.
The only problem was there were people there, like hanging out, drinking, playing video games.
Which is awesome for a party, but for a podcast, kind of has to be
It's
quiet.
horrible, man. Like, so you can go back, and I'm sure a few of them we ended up playing. You can hear all these people in the background. We had one with like 10 people on it. Everybody at the party wanted to be on the podcast, and we had gone to another room.
Mm-hmm.
And everybody just like passed around microphones, like slammed drinks down, yelled at each other. It was a nightmare.
Oh.
But yeah, we didn't have a place, so we had a lot of those kind of episodes that were interrupted or something was wrong. Or at one of the first probably 5, only one of the microphones worked, and we didn't know it because we didn't have headphones.
Oh,
we had no way of testing it unless we like played it back, played it again, and I tried to do that as much as possible. So I either missed it or we just did it anyway.
Right.
And it was, of course, my microphone.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm not the loudest one on the podcast, and I need to be closer, and my mic needs to be on. It was a nightmare. It was just
the infancy of creative projects.
Oh, it's
the problems you hit.
It's the best learning experience you can get.
Mm-hmm.
The experience of failure.
Now, thankfully, I've been doing music for about 10 years now, so I kind of have an idea of audio. So first time I ever did a podcast, I was like, okay, I'm going to test this out, listen back to it, and, at the very least, I'll know if it's recording or not. And I did it. I put it back on, but I was interviewing a whole band, and it was very noisy. I heard us talking. I was like, okay, great, this is working. Then I went back. We did the recording. It was great material, a lot of fun. I go back to edit it down, and there's this really weird abrasive static going on in the background. That's never happened again since then. And so now I know, all right, I'm going to try to get into a quieter room, make sure that the table isn't being hit or anything, listen really good to the test run, and then hit record.
Definitely.
Which is what we were doing right before we started.
I'm glad I was just talking so much.
Oh, hey, I like it when other people talk. Makes me have to think less. So I imagine that the way you guys started out was you guys just had the craziest conversations, couldn't stop laughing. You're like, man, we need to record this and show our friends. And then you're like, wait a minute, we can just podcast this.
Well, sort of.
Because my family kind of had something like that. We would just stay up late watching movies, laugh our butts off, and then be like, oh, we should have been recording this.
Well, yeah, there have been many times that I've thought that, and many of my friends have talked about that. Mm-hmm. But we really didn't know much about podcasting until Kevin Smith got into podcasting. And then we both started listening to his podcast separately. Mm-hmm. And he came over, I think it was one of my birthday parties when I lived in the house on the west side of town. Mm-hmm. And I think we were talking to different people, to be honest. But I heard him say a line from Hollywood Babylon podcast. I don't know, couldn't tell you which one, but Ralph Garman does impressions of celebrities. So he just, there's many of them. And I heard it and I just kind of looked over like, wait a minute, I know that.
Yeah.
And we caught eyes, and then we realized, like, you listen to it? I listened to it, and we got all excited. One of the things Kevin Smith constantly preached, well, he doesn't preach it much anymore, but he used to preach it all the time on his podcast, was go do it. Like, it's free.
Yeah.
Aside from equipment, most of the stuff you have, cell phone, laptop, they got microphones now.
Yeah.
So he always said, go do this.
Yeah.
So we talked about it off and on for a couple of years, and then when I moved into this neighborhood, he hit me up a month later or something. I didn't know anyone over here. It's on the north side of town. It's pretty much as bad as the west side of town, I guess. So no one really wants to come out here. He hit me up and told me his address, and he was like, I'm at Admiral in Yale. And it blew my mind. I was just like, that's where I'm at.
Wow.
How are we in the same place? Where are you? And then we figured out that he's like 5 minutes away. I could walk to his house in 5 minutes.
I didn't know he lived in this neighborhood too.
Yeah, he's just right on the outside of it.
The bass player for the Classless also lives in this neighborhood, so I was hanging around this area for about a year since I met him, and then when I came to do your podcast, I was like, wait a minute, this is literally like a block from where he lives. Yeah. So like everyone I know in the entertainment business lives in this neighborhood.
Nice.
Yeah.
That's pretty convenient.
And that's where I did my first podcast, was over at that house just right down the street. If you ever drive that way, and I'm pointing east.
That's north.
That's north?
Yeah, north, east.
Okay, well, I'm turning around. Well, if you drive that way, you hit Ryan Clevenger's house.
Ah. Mm-hmm. He was your first guest?
He and his band, and it was a surprise. I knew that he was going to have his... which one was it? I knew he was going to have his lead guitar player there. And so I was excited to talk to both of them. And then all of a sudden, his drummer with his girlfriend, her best friend, and they just walked in and started talking. And I was like, oh, hey guys, hey, we're doing a podcast. You want to join? And he started saying really funny stuff, you know. And then we were like, okay, I decided to take a break from it because it was just becoming a party, which is not a podcast-friendly thing. So I was just like, hey, we'll be right back. I paused it, go outside, and his singer's there. I'm like, what are you doing out here? And so everybody ended up coming back in, and that's when we did the rest of that podcast.
That's pretty awesome, man. That's a good surprise.
It was a good first podcast. It was a lot of fun. Nice. And thankfully, I didn't realize how many connections I've had in the music industry until I started doing this. I was like, man, I can interview this guy, I can interview this guy, I can interview this guy.
Oh, yeah.
And I haven't had any brain cramps on who to interview so far.
It seems like Tulsa's music scene is very connected to one another. Like, all of them know. You could just go through a chain of people to get to somebody if you needed to.
I think the reason why it's so connected and all the musicians are so close is because Tulsa is a very hard music scene to break into. So you have to have some sort of emotional or financial support from another musician.
Makes sense.
It's really I don't want to say weird because that sounds insulting, but it's kind of a strange music scene. Like, it's either indie rock bands, death metal bands, or praise and worship bands, because there's like a church, like five church per square mile. Like, I don't think there's any.
Okay, you got me there.
I don't think there's any city in America or in the world that has more churches per capita than Oklahoma or Tulsa. And
sad.
I know how you feel about the religion, but yeah. So you would think that it would be heavy into country, but with country, what you have to do is get a following in a town outside of Tulsa, or if you really want to have a good following outside of Oklahoma, and then you come to Tulsa and everybody will show up, which is weird. But if you start in Tulsa and you, as a country band, and you start playing the local scene, eventually you can get to where you're doing pretty well. But if you want to have a serious following in Tulsa, like country band that's a good example is the Turnpike Troubadours. They started in Tahlequah. Now they have like 200,000 plus fans on Facebook.
Ooh, shit.
And Tulsa loves them. Had they started in Tulsa, they probably wouldn't have had the success that they've had now.
Just doesn't work that way here.
Not quite.
It's so weird.
Yeah.
That just doesn't make sense to me. But I mean, I would agree with the type of scene we do have here. Mm-hmm. I just always figure, we've got those. I don't know about them because I don't go to them. But like country venues and. Clubs.
You went to one.
I went to one.
You went to Kane's Ballroom, which is kind of a mixture of everything. It's heavy in the country, but I've also seen like rap groups go there. I think the Foo Fighters have played there before.
Oh, I'm sure. So many people have played there. I've seen metal acts, alternative acts.
Unless you're big enough to play at BOK and you come to Tulsa, you're either going to hit up the Brady or Kane's.
Yeah.
And I've been very fortunate enough to play Kane's twice in a year.
That's awesome.
It's been a fun ride.
It was really cool to get to see you up there.
Yeah, wearing the Tales from Tulsa shirt.
Yeah, that was even better. But no, just seeing you up there on the Kane stage, man.
Yeah, I was like, hey, Jordan, you should come out to the show. And then all of a sudden, I see you walking out from the smoking area. I forgot what hoodie you had on, but I was like, man, I should have told him to invite friends. Because you know, I was like, man, he probably doesn't have anything to talk about with anyone else other than me here.
I met like one person out in the smoke hole who looked like he was a country guy, but he immediately called me out on not looking like I belong there.
Yeah, you look like a black death metal Jesus.
I mean, yeah.
That's the only Jesus you like is the black death metal.
Man, if I'm gonna go to a concert, I gotta rep the music.
Right, exactly.
But no, he was talking to me about something. I don't remember what it was, but he like Avenged Sevenfold and some other bands that I don't find to be too heavy. But I was like, right on, man, that's cool.
Yeah.
I saw him when I left too. Like he wanted to death.
Man, I am so into black metal, like Led Zeppelin is.
Yeah, something like that.
I was like, oh yeah, you should listen to what I listen to.
Right, it would scare the shit out of you, man. Be awesome though.
Who was I forgot who you were going to see. I think you went to Oklahoma City, and you saw. Who was it?
Devil Driver.
Devil Driver. Yeah.
It's a good show.
I need to. What kind of music are they? They're black metal.
They're pretty metal. Yeah. They call it groove metal, but.
Have you ever had like a word calendar where you learn a new word and you just want to use it all the time?
Oh,
black metal is mine because I realized that that's like satanic death metal.
Oh, it's not quite that metal.
It's not
just probably generic metal is where I would go with it.
But black metal is really it's reserved for satanic bands, right?
I don't think it's necessarily reserved for satanic. I think it's just the style of the riffs and the growls. It's a real guttural, deep.
Okay. Yeah.
That's horrible.
I mean, close enough.
Yeah.
So how did Jesse get on your podcast?
We had Jesse on the podcast somewhat, maybe about, I don't remember anymore, it's been so long, like a year before our 75th show. So I think it was 75 that we asked him. And we had a really good time with him. We had met him, Ryan had met him through a friend on Facebook, and they had realized they had kind of a connection with comics and pop culture, so they were always commenting on the same stuff. So they were like, let's talk to each other. And then he told me about him, and I guess he started listening to our podcast because Ryan was sharing it. And so we started talking a little bit, not nearly as much because I just don't use social media, and I don't even text a lot. I'm old.
Right.
But eventually we had him on the show, and it went really well. He got into some personal stuff. You could hear all about it on a Tales from Tulsa, I think. Otherwise, it's private.
Right.
But then we had him come back for our 75th, and we had been throwing around the idea of having a third person to kind of break up the conversation.
Right.
You know, we both get really excited about things and really love things when we first see it, and so we just gush about it. Mm-hmm. We never have anyone who's kind of like, that wasn't as good as you think it was, and I'm going to blow your mind with why.
You and Ryan seem to think kind of the same a lot. Is that what you're talking about?
Initially, when we first see something, like we watch like a movie, like the first time we watched Spider-Man Homecoming, me and Ryan were just like, oh my god, it's so good, it's awesome.
Jesse is the cynic of the group.
Yeah. And then like 2 days later I went and watched it with my wife, and I was starting to notice things that I didn't like, because at first I was just happy. I was like, alright, new Spider-Man, finally.
Comic accurate almost.
Yeah.
Or the closest portrayal of Peter Parker we've seen.
So I was so excited, and this time, the second time, it's like, okay, this I don't like. I could do with less of this,
I still haven't seen it the second time. I mean...
I got to do it with Guardians of the Galaxy too, because I remember being bored at parts, and then really liking it, and I'm kind of worried that my second watch I'm going to realize those boring parts were really, really boring, and I wasn't just tired or something.
Well, we used to have a coworker together, remember Phil?
Yes.
He fell asleep during Guardians of the Galaxy 2. He just straight up fell asleep, and he woke up, and he was like, why is Pac-Man in this?
Wow. I mean, that's a valid question, I think. But.
I mean, I I do like Guardians, but I don't really understand people's absolute infatuation with it.
I really liked the first movie. I thought it was really
Well, it was good. It was fresh. My only thing is that
that's what it is.
We, there was just so many like goofy lines being thrown out there, and people were like, "Oh, it's hilarious." I'm like, well, if every other thing you say is supposed to be a joke, eventually something's gonna at least land.
Yeah.
And I mean, like Rocket, all he says are jokes, and some of them are really funny, but then some of it's like, "You're making me kick dirt," like, and that's the line. It's like it's not.
It's got to catch you in the right moment, I guess.
I guess.
But no, that's what I was thinking with that one. Was those characters were so fresh, everybody immediately was drawn to them.
Mm-hmm. I mean, they were played really well. Chris Pratt's great as Star-Lord. Although I will say, he was the best part of the first one, and the second one it was Drax. It was John Bautista.
Drax did a lot more acting in that second one.
He was a lot funnier in the second one. He was funny in the first one, but the second one got a little bit better.
Yeah,
he was my favorite part of the movie, at least.
See, I got to watch it a second time because I'm not real sure on that one.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, we brought Jesse on that 75th episode, and as we were trying to do we did a game. It was a good time, and afterwards we got to talking and just like, hey man, because he wanted to do his own podcast.
Oh, really?
He told us a few times.
I didn't know that.
And he had even done a couple episodes and recorded them on the phone. I guess that phone's no longer around, so he lost those episodes, and they were some really good ones.
It sucks.
From what I hear. Mm-hmm. And
that's why you got to diversify your files. Have one on your phone, have one on your computer, have one in the cloud, have one on Facebook, if you can do that. Dropbox.
Everywhere.
Yeah.
But, so we ended up asking him after the show if he could come back the next week, and he was just like, well, yeah, I can be here, just tell me what day, what time, I'll be here, and we started making the schedule, and it was just like Fridays around 7:30. Mm-hmm. Time changes, day changes, really based on if something happens.
Yeah.
We hadn't done guests at the time, really. We had a few guests here and there, but nothing like we started doing after Jesse got on.
Right.
But I don't know. Ever since then, it's been going pretty strong.
I've liked it. I've been a fan of the show for a while, and I do like having. I like you guys having Jesse on. He's. I mean, you and Jesse are both kind of quiet, but he does have a little more of it. Well,
he's got an anger to him.
Maybe a little bit. Maybe less childlike wonder.
Yeah.
It's an analytical mind different from you and Ryan's.
Yeah, it's fun. Jesse's a smart guy. He's fun to talk to.
Yeah, he is. Just don't talk to him about boxing versus UFC. Oh, that was so funny. I was listening to that again. I was like, man, he's getting a little fired up. I bet you his face was getting a little red.
A little bit.
And Ryan was like, I don't know.
Yeah, the whole thing was a lot of fun. I like to see Jesse get worked up over something and then go after someone.
Right.
Give me your reasons why you think that. He starts a good debate, but he's very intimidating about it.
Maybe that's why he's so good at it.
Right? He's just like very ready to go.
Yeah.
He's got that, you see it, and it's just like, crap, maybe I shouldn't have made this argument.
Yeah. Although I did say something that he 100% agreed with about Rogue One. Star Wars Rogue One. He didn't like it either.
No. Yeah.
And I think he was happy to find someone who disliked it as much as he did.
No, I'm
which sometimes is the strongest bond you can have. Just a hatred for something else.
Yeah. Which you guys got to nerd out on Star Wars for a while. That was cool.
Yeah. That was fun. My singer was. He said he was losing it just hearing me in my element because on the road, we're all nerds in our own way, but no one's a nerd like I am, in the band at least.
Yeah.
And so, getting around other people who have like minds about some of the stuff that I do, he was like, it was funny hearing you go off on Star Wars.
Dude, it was pretty cool.
Yeah, it was fun.
I got to just sit back here.
Yeah, you had a front row
you
seat
and
to
Jesse
it.
Go at it. It was just like I don't know Star Wars, so go at, do it.
Yeah,
keep going.
You're right. Yeah. Live long, use the Force. Like, that's not right, Jordan. That's not right.
That's my favorite thing to say. I just love to quote Star Trek to Star Wars nerds. Star Wars quotes to Star Trek nerds.
It's fun. There was this one picture of Patrick Stewart sitting there looking at. It was like a bottle shot of him, like a glamour shot or whatever you call it.
Right.
And he's just sitting there looking at the camera, and in captions it says, "Use the Force, Harry," and then they attributed the quote to Gandalf. And
let's mix them all up.
My friend said, "Man, that just violates completely 3 fan bases." I said, "Actually 4, because Patrick Stewart was also Professor X."
Oh,
so
that's awesome.
So Star Trek, Professor X, Gandalf, and Harry Potter.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Do you like the movies? I forgot. Did you?
Which ones?
There's
Star Wars movies.
The Harry Potter movies.
Harry Potter. I've seen all of them up until Deathly Hallows 1 and 2. I haven't seen I was projection when we played them, so I saw them.
Yeah.
But I didn't watch the movies themselves. I read the books.
You read the books as a kid?
No, I read them like probably 2-3 years ago.
Oh, okay. So this was after all the Harry Potters came out.
Yeah. I knew the story mostly going forward, just the details.
Apparently they're fairly accurate.
Yeah.
Because J.K. Rowling had the movie creative team by the balls. They're like, no, this is how we're doing it.
Yeah, I ended up really liking the books.
I kind of wish movies would actually do more, let the author have a little more say in what they want.
That would be nice.
I mean, to a certain extent, I would not want Stephen King to have more creative control over the movies, because oftentimes I kind of like the movie's ideas more than the book's ideas for him.
This is true. Did you see The Mist?
The Mist. I've seen some of it.
Back in like 2014.
Talking about where all those creatures are in that fog and the dad has to do stuff.
Yeah, in the end of it, the ending for that is just so much more brutal than the book.
Really?
Like, I've seen a quote.
That is very backwards for most Stephen King adaptions.
Kinda, yeah. I mean, Stephen King has a problem where he doesn't know how to end a book. He doesn't know how to end stories. So the entire journey is great, and he even makes a comment in the final chapter of The Dark Tower. He like writes an extra chapter, but before it he puts an excerpt saying like the journey stops here. You know, if you're good with this, stop. Yeah. I'm not good at finishing stories, so this may not live up to what this whole journey's been.
That's interesting.
And he's like, but if you're one of those people who must have an ending, here is the ending. I read the ending and I was kind of disappointed in it. But, you know, it was pretty cool. He's just one of those guys. He can tell a good story and then just trail off.
There is not very many endings to phenomenons that are just like satisfying to everyone. Like Breaking Bad, I love the ending, but most people hated it.
Haven't seen it yet.
Oh yeah, you still haven't seen that.
I'm working on Game of Thrones right now. Breaking Bad's like my next series to catch up on.
Even with all its flaws, I still love Dark Knight Rises. Even though with the end? But yeah, well, not really the end. Mostly throughout, Batman was just a dumbass throughout the whole movie. I mean, he didn't suspect Miranda Tate at all. And spoilers. He didn't suspect Miranda Tate at all. He remained a shut-in for years after Rachel died, and after he let the public blame him when he could have just been like the Joker killed him. Yeah,
well, I mean, they just made him really broody.
Yeah,
which then they took further into their DC universe.
Well, and then apparently his company's going bankrupt, and he doesn't know it, and
he's consumed by the night.
Well, I mean,
I don't know. I got no explanations for why he's making these decisions. World's greatest detective.
But people's main complaints, like, how did he get from one place to the other in several days or in a day? I'm like, it probably took place over a couple of weeks.
Yeah.
Like they said that from the time Bane started this bomb to the time it goes off is like a couple to a few months.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
And Christopher Nolan, he never puts text in his movies like 2 weeks till this or Gotham City 19 whatever. He doesn't do any of that.
That's true.
And he assumes that and most of the time the audience is smart enough to understand. But
yeah, but if you don't specify it and you just watching a bunch of scenes play out,
but he has an
establishing.
he has establishing shots like you see Batman get knocked out and put into this prison, and he's working out, and then it cuts back over to Gotham, and there's snow on the ground. There was no snow before, so you assume, okay, some time has passed because there wasn't snow when we last saw, so more than likely it was during the fall or the summer.
I just attributed the time to Bane's not taking over, going from the sewer to taking over the whole city. You know.
Yeah. Well, this was after Batman's back was broken and he escaped that prison.
Right.
Yeah.
He all that's a lot of time, and then he comes back, and then he's got the city.
Yeah.
Because he's already holding the little, was it the court thing?
Yeah. He was holding these.
He had Scarecrow up there.
Types of trials.
Yeah.
I mean, again, I know there are flaws in it. I know there are problems, but I still liked it. Although, it started a precedent for Batman that it never even kept itself, but people expect future Batman movies to have the not killing rule.
Yeah.
Christian Bale's Batman killed like 5 people.
I figure every car chase scene, there's at least a
well, and I'm not even talking about off screen. I'm talking about on screen. All right, Ra's al Ghul. I'm sorry, not saving somebody is the same as killing them.
That's true.
I mean, debate that all you want. It's the same. If you let somebody die in real life and you could have prevented it, you are considered guilty in whatever happened.
In the eyes of the law.
Yeah, in the eyes of the law.
But then
good enough for me. I mean, do I think that he should have saved Ra's al Ghul? No, I don't. I agree with him, but he broke his own rule. Dark Knight. What does he do? He pushes Harvey Dent off a building.
Good,
that hands-on killing right there. I'm sorry. And then in Dark Knight Rises, he uses machine guns on his plane to shoot at the semi-truck carrying the bomb, and he makes it go off the edge of this bridge, and then the driver and Miranda Tate both die. I'm sorry that he killed those 2 people.
You've thought this through.
I've thought this through, and then all of a sudden, Ben Affleck's Batman, who's supposed to be a dark, disturbed Batman who's having problems, all of a sudden people were like, "This is stupid. He wouldn't kill people." He killed people in the best Batman trilogy ever.
I mean, that's happened.
He averaged a death per movie.
Yeah.
Not to mention all the possible people who had plates in their heads that he knocked around after.
Oh yeah. Well, I mean, Batman's always been about maiming people, but not killing people.
I want to see Batman's story where, sometimes he uses a slight electric shock or taser to incapacitate someone. I want to see somebody with a pacemaker, and then it breaks because of it, and he has to deal with the fact oh crap, I just killed this guy.
You might get that in Gotham. I don't think you're gonna get that in a Batman movie unless DC's just really reaching for a story arc.
Yeah, I don't know.
We need to show him ultra regretful right now.
Oh crap. I'm sorry, dude.
Old man's pacemaker went out because he accidentally got tased by one
That's
of the
what happened. That's what would happen in real life, though. You beat enough people up. Even with UFC, a lot of people end up dying because of a fight they had earlier. I say a lot of people out. It doesn't happen really in the UFC. It happens in MMA.
Historically, it has happened.
Yeah.
Yes, people have been killed for not giving up and just taking the beating.
Yeah. What a badass way to go, though.
I know, right? How'd you die? I just kept boxing.
How can you talk while you're dead? I just keep boxing.
That's what I do.
So, are you a DC or Marvel fan more?
When it comes to comic books, DC. When it comes to movies, Marvel.
I mean, I appreciate that Marvel movies are historically better, but they've made the same movie a lot.
They have, yes, but
the times where they go in a different direction, like Ant-Man, I loved Ant-Man.
I liked Ant-Man.
Spider-Man: Homecoming.
I thought Doctor Strange was a very different way to go about it. It brought the mystical into it.
Yeah, I liked that, and I had a lot of fun with that. It was still another Tony Stark story.
Yeah, they're all origin stories mostly.
Well, origin stories are great.
Like even
what's Captain America's origin story?
I didn't like it.
You didn't like it?
I thought that was the worst Captain America movie.
Well, that's saying something because before that, there's only those '90s and '80s ones.
Okay, I think it's probably one of my lowest rated of all the Marvel movies.
Oh, really? How come?
I just didn't find it interesting. I'm interested in World War II and World War II history and all that. But then you throw Captain America in it and you give him just this very generic story, and I was just like, alright, this feels like every other, like, what was it, a Pearl Harbor kind of, except then you inject superpowers into it, and it's really just, I'm a stronger soldier, instead of Ben Affleck and Matt Damon running around just trying their hardest to survive and protect people-ish.
Yeah.
I mean, I just thought it was a very generic war story, I guess, and I didn't want a war story going into a Captain America.
What about Winter Soldier?
Oh, I loved it.
You did?
Winter Soldier and Civil War, probably.
I don't consider Civil War Captain America movie, even though it's called Captain America Civil War. It's a Avengers 2.5.
It's definitely an Avengers movie, but
I did like them.
I think I would put almost to the top.
Really?
That and Guardians of the Galaxy one, I think would be the top of my list.
I think the top of my list would be, of course, Avengers. I mean,
it was good. Yeah.
I know it probably doesn't hold up the same now as it did back in 2012.
That is still pretty close. It's not been that long.
I mean,
movie technology, they're even moving away from 3D.
Well, yeah,
but they haven't gone up that much.
I guess what I mean is people don't really talk about the Avengers the same way as they talk about some of the other Marvel Cinematic movies. Like people seem to talk a lot more about some of the more recent ones like Guardians or Winter Soldier a lot more than they do Avengers.
Yeah. I mean, as the new ones come out that people find better, we're going to talk about those. But Avengers was a very good.
I mean, other than The Dark Knight, I've never left a movie theater so happy than with the Avengers. I mean, every bit of it when I was watching, it's like, oh, I love that, I love that, I love that.
It was really good. I can't take anything away from that one. Mm-hmm. I really liked that one. The second one I didn't care for that much. It was
I didn't like. I hated what they did to Ultron. I thought they wussified him a bit.
I thought they wussified him, and I thought they really just let Tony Stark off with a whole lot of stuff.
Oh yeah, you created an AI.
No backdoor, like he's a genius tech billionaire, and he didn't think like I should have fail safes. I should have fail safes for the fail safes. This AI could figure what could this AI not figure out so that I can stop it.
Yeah,
should I need to?
My what was it?
Barring the whole experience with hole in the sky to another dimension, whatever.
My whole problem with the development of Ultron was. With Loki, we got like several movies devoted to, or not several, but we had an entire movie devoted to his motivations behind him trying to take over Manhattan. In the Avengers, we got to see him in his relationship with his brother leading all the way up to the Avengers. And then with Avengers 2, we get this is Ultron. And that is his character development up to that point. I would have been happy if instead of in Iron Man 3 we get the Bruce Banner psychiatry session, we get Stark saying like Jarvis, open up a new Project Ultron is what I want to call it. At the very least, that would have been some hint of what was gonna come later on.
That would have been cool.
But
kind of like the thing they're doing with is it Adam Warlock.
Yeah, yeah.
Into the Last Guardians.
Mm-hmm. Which I don't know much about him, but I knew that was going to be Adam Warlock.
I know he has a big role against Thanos, but beyond that, I haven't read the stories, so I'm not sure.
Have you ever read the Annihilation storyline?
I haven't.
Have you ever heard of it?
Uh-uh.
It's based. I mean, I think Iron Man's in it, but I know the Guardians are in it, like the new Guardians, like Drax. I know Drax is in it. I think Silver Surfer is in it too.
Well,
but they're fighting Annihilus, which he's a pretty badass. I would love to see an Annihilus storyline, but I think he's more of a Fantastic Four villain.
Yeah, there's a rights issue probably.
Yeah, but apparently Stan Lee said that they are currently working on getting X-Men and Fantastic Four back with Marvel Studios.
See, I could see them giving back Fantastic Four because they have tried and tried and tried and failed and failed and failed.
I mean, it's not even a cash cow. I don't know why they keep it.
Just to spite Marvel,
Probably.
I guess. I don't know at this point, but X-Men, I mean, they're still doing some good stuff. X3, I think, was pretty bad. X-Men Origins Wolverine was pretty bad.
Mm-hmm. I've lost some appreciation for the Wolverine. I loved it when it first came out. Now it's just kind of boring. I don't like what they did with Silver Samurai.
Yeah.
I mean, he looked awesome, I thought.
I thought it was cool until it was the son, I guess, who was in it. Or no, it wasn't the son. I thought the son was going to be... I don't even remember now what I was expecting going into that movie.
Very forgettable.
I was really excited because Wolverine's one of my favorite, comic characters. He's probably the one character from Marvel that makes me like Marvel. They're just really happy stories where they all end up like, I don't know, just colorful and everyone's optimistic and even their like sadness isn't really sadness.
Yeah. I mean, some of them there is like Peter Parker, his story. I mean, he's had a lot of tragic things happen to him. For as happy as he is.
Yeah, I just feel like these people need to be a little bit sadder for what they've experienced and the losses they've gone through.
Yeah, which I do. I love Wolverine's backstory. I wish they'd given Origins the treatment that they gave Logan.
That would have been cool. I mean, I think Logan just did it because they knew they were going out of it. They knew Hugh Jackman was done.
Well, I think they also used Deadpool because I mean everyone knows Deadpool's a raunchy character, so they were like, let's see if the rated R movie will do good in our universe.
Oh, and
of course it killed. And then Logan knocked it out of the park too. I loved Logan.
Oh yeah, I rewatched that one a couple of weeks ago. And I was still very...
I know it would be ridiculous, but still, even if it was a throwaway joke, I wanted to see Hugh Jackman in the yellow suit.
I would have settled for him just like putting the mask on.
That at least, yeah.
Just like, the hell is this? And then taking it off and tossing it back.
I mean, because his suit was in the Wolverine. Yeah. It was in a deleted scene. He opens a briefcase, shows it, but I mean, he looked too interested in it to have it not be in any future movie, which is probably why they took it out.
Yeah, they should have done.
I know. Everyone. I've seen some photoshops of him in that Wolverine suit, and it looked pretty badass.
Nice. I haven't seen those shots.
I'll have to show you. I also saw a pretty sweet Photoshop of the Spider-Man 3 black suit looking like the actual black suit.
Oh, nice.
It was pretty sweet too.
That'd be cool.
I was always like, why didn't they just do that? And Raimi was like, we couldn't. Not that I asked Raimi himself,
asked Raimi personally.
but he did say, he said that too many of their attempts to make it look like that looked too much like a BDSM type of costume. Which I was like, okay, maybe I'm kind of glad they didn't do that.
Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah, I can accept that as a reason.
Who would you get to play Wolverine going forward?
Oh, that's a good question.
If he wasn't playing Venom, I would say Tom Hardy.
See, that was the first name that came to my mind because he's kind of got that squat. And I don't know if he's really short in real life, but in most of the movies, they kind of.
It'd be sweet to have a short Wolverine. Hugh Jackman's pretty tall. I mean, he nailed the character, but a little bit more of a comic accurate.
I would think shorter, little bit wider, just more linebacker build. I think and short and.
I would want him to be a little more antisocial too.
I mean, yeah, he was a lot more antisocial in the comics, but even later, like when they did Old Man Logan, he did get a little bit more social with people as he got, or I guess this comic art.
Well, again, and I loved what they did with Hugh Jackman. I'm not saying I wanted that to change. I'm saying going forward, I would like to see him maybe not have a love interest. Maybe have girls that he does.
I mean, they'd have to take Jean out of it.
Well, was he interested in Jean in anything other than the X-Men movies?
I couldn't say.
I don't think he was.
I know he hooked up with Mystique at one point.
Well, I know he hooked up with Mystique. It doesn't mean he had a strong feeling for her.
No. I don't know. I really hope they do Laura Kinney. I hope they just continue on with the Wolverine story by
That'd be cool.
her Wolverine. I just can't think of another actor I would want to see as Wolverine besides.
It would be a while. It would take a while.
Like they would have to reboot because I just can't see. I don't even see another way to take it unless they're like, oh yeah, this one falls between these two movies. Like, granted, they have done a lot of weird stuff with their timeline, but
I had an idea for what they could do if he gets reintroduced in the Marvel universe. Is in like maybe a season of Punisher or Daredevil, you see this this gruff looking big bearded hobo walking around, like seemingly just like a background extra, but then all of a sudden like you see a little more of him, like maybe another episode like he's asking for change or something, and then in like a final episode he's getting mugged and you see the claws pop out.
That would be cool.
And then you could then you still don't know who the actor is. Like, don't release the contract information.
You just know Wolverine exists.
Yeah, yeah. Which apparently, did you know that he was going to be in the first Spider-Man movie with Tobey Maguire?
He's gonna like walk by in the background.
He was going to have some sort of cameo. Yeah.
That would be cool.
Do you know why he wasn't?
No.
I didn't believe my friend until I saw it last night, but I looked it up. He wasn't in the movie because there was some problem with the costume. It like got left at an airport or it wasn't on the set that day.
Oh, that's messed up.
And the only reason why Wolverine did not exist in the Spider-Man universe or Spider-Man didn't have the possibility of existing in the X-Men universe was because of a wardrobe snafu.
Wow. That's such a bummer. That could have changed a lot of things.
I hope that guy never gets work again. Whoever fault that was.
Whoever was in charge of that suit was fired.
Even though I like the new Spider-Man more, I still really like Tobey Maguire. I thought he did really good.
I watched. It's been probably about the last 4 months now, but I watched the second Spider-Man movie.
Yeah, that one's still really good
with Doc Ock, and it was mostly because Ryan and Jesse were talking about it on an episode and like bringing out all these details, and I was sitting here like, we must have watched 2 different movies because I don't remember all this.
Yeah.
And so I had to go watch it. When I watched it, I was really surprised at how much I liked Tobey Maguire's Spider-Man. It's just I keep hearing people talk him down, talk bad about it.
How he's whiny.
Yeah.
Which that's not Tobey Maguire's fault. That was the writing. He was doing what he was supposed to be doing.
Right. I mean, you can't always just blame an actor for the material that's there, the direction you're given. There's other people in charge of what you do and in charge of the final take that they're going to use.
They showed really well his emotional conflicts. But then we got it again with The Amazing Spider-Man. We started to depart from it a little bit. He started to have a little more of the happy streak. But now, because I never completely looked at Spider-Man as a tragic figure. He loves the fact that he has all these powers for the most part, except for a small time where he wished he didn't. But for the most part, he likes helping people out. He's a big trash talker.
Oh, I love that.
That's one of my favorite parts.
When they're sarcastic and they're still doing it, especially Spider-Man and Deadpool. Like they have a comic series that goes just Spider-Man versus Deadpool, and it's them, like they're friends and. Deadpool like borrows a Spider-Man costume without telling Peter.
That's funny.
And goes out and does something, ends up screwing up a few things. Like, oh, whoops, well, too bad Spider-Man did all that, and then pulls that mask off to reveal the Deadpool mask, and he's just walking with the rest of it, and it's just like, Deadpool.
One time he cut there's this picture where he like, you don't see this happen, but he cuts Batman's ears off and he glues them to the top of his head. He's like, "Hey, I'm the knight," and Batman's like, "Give them back."
Is that a crossover? Marvel DC
It was
crossover?
I think it was just a drawing someone did.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, someone posted it on Facebook. It wasn't a DC Marvel event.
Not a licensed product.
Have you ever heard of Dark Claw?
I have the Wolverine Batman cross.
You give Batman any superpower at all, and there's going to be no evil in the world. The crossover I'd like to see next time, if they ever do it, is Batman getting the Venom symbiote.
That would be cool.
It'd be sick.
Right now, DC's doing a comic story. It's probably about 2 weeks in. Maybe this is the third week. I kind of fell behind on it for other reading. But they're doing they're bringing in all these evil Batmans from the Dark universe.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So it's like one of them. This one that came out yesterday, I think it was. It's Thursday. Yeah, yesterday is the Red Death, and it's an evil Batman that takes the Flash's power, and so he's like evil Batman Flash cross. They're like each one of the evil Batmans is a cross between one of the other superheroes. Like I think by the picture. I haven't read anything to confirm this because I hate reading spoilers or descriptions of later things, but one of them looks like it's a Batman crossed with Darkseid. He's got like all these rock formations and it's just,
Darkseid or Doomsday?
Or Doomsday, yes, sorry. My bad.
Oh, either way. Either way.
But it looks pretty
Is it canonical or is it just like a one-off graphic novel type thing?
It's canonical right now.
Wow.
Yeah, it's the DC Metal series. Or Batman Metal, or Dark Knight Metal, one of them.
Yeah, that's cool. That's cool. I'll have to look into that one. Something I was wanting to ask you. I had said that I was wanting to mention it earlier. Was the remake for Metroid 2 came out?
Ooh.
Which is a 3DS game. Did you ever play any of the Metroids?
I played one of them on Super Nintendo. We had
Super Metroid.
Yeah, we had it for quite a while.
I've been replaying that. I've gone a little past halfway the game, and I hadn't died yet.
Oh.
I was like, because my proudest achievement in any video game is beating Metroid Prime 1 without dying. And I was like so nervous in the final boss. I was like, oh my god, I haven't died yet, and I hadn't thought about it until then, and then I beat that one without dying, and I was like getting so close to dying in Super Metroid. I was like, come on, and then like I had 2 hits left on this boss, and he killed me, and I was like, dang it, I'll have to replay it again.
But at least you made it that far. That's still an achievement, man.
Yeah, it feels like one. Feels like one. I don't have that many energy tanks either, so if I had found some more of it, I'd still be alive.
Yeah.
But the Metroid 2, it was kind of weird because it wasn't released on NES. It was original Game Boy, so you had to get a different system to play the sequel. And I mean, for the time, for a Game Boy game, original Game Boy game where it's just an open world adventure, it's great. But for a Metroid game, it's one of the lesser ones.
Oh, yeah.
So the fact that they remade it into a 3DS game, I'm really excited about. Phil says it's really tough to play. Not that it's tough to play, but it's a tough game.
Right. It already came out?
Mm-hmm. Like a few days ago. Oh, okay. If I had money, we wouldn't be here. I'd be playing Metroid 2.
Too busy playing.
Yeah.
I feel you.
I couldn't hold my excitement, so I spent $8 on the Wii Virtual Console Super Metroid, and I've been playing that with my Samus controller on this new, I think it's a 20-inch screen that my parents were like, you can put this in your room if you want. I'm like, yes, I do want to do that. Right? So I'm playing it in HD.
That's awesome.
Oh, it's so fun.
I haven't been playing a lot of video games lately. I started
Pokemon.
Yeah, well, I've been playing that too much.
Yeah.
Pokemon Sun and Moon. Mm-hmm. And then Pokemon, they're doing the re-release of Pokemon Gold and Silver on the Virtual Console, I think tomorrow, actually.
Oh, really? For the Switch or for Wii U?
For the 3DS.
3DS, so.
Although I was excited to see that Nintendo has acknowledged the thoughts of a Pokemon game on the Wii U, or the Switch.
That would be sweet.
So, I'm crossing my fingers. Big fan of Pokemon.
I hope that it's not like as cool as it was, I don't want it to be like Pokemon Stadium. I want it to be a full-fledged, like, you walk around, catch different ones.
Yes.
Not just that you... I forgot how you unlock them. I think you can transfer some of the ones from your Game Boy onto the system.
Yeah, you had to get an attachment. The N64 was all about controller attachments, rumble pack, memory card. There are too many.
Which, I mean, it was cool, but I wanted a home console. Hopefully I wouldn't be wrong about that. But I want Pokemon Snap 2.
That would be cool.
For the Wii U? I mean, come on.
They could do that.
Or for the Switch.
Yeah, either one, man. That'd be simple graphics. They don't have to do a whole lot. I mean, don't have to like add any polygons. That was already a 3D-ish game for what it was. Just throw in a few more levels, add some new Pokemon. Like
I took all 62 pictures, I caught a picture of every Pokemon on that game.
Oh, I got obsessed with that one as well, my friend. For such a simple concept of you're just gonna go through and take pictures.
I never would have dreamed that would have been fun.
Like, I didn't think it would be.
And then I started playing it. Like, my dad got into it. Like, he liked the original Pokemon game. He thought it was fun. But then we started playing Pokemon Snap, and he had, like, the best score of anyone. He was like, this is fun. And I was in Texas with my band, and I was like, describing Pokemon Snap, and the singer was like, sounds really boring. He's like, there's a new thing called Stamp Collection, too. Or he said something like that. It was funny, but I was like, dude, you don't understand. Like, this was the bomb.
You gotta try it.
Yeah.
If you've never tried it, go get an emulator for N64 and try it.
I think it's on Virtual Console, too.
Legally buy it
Legally
on
buy it,
Virtual
or
Console.
I have it. I have it on N64.
You still have an N64?
Mm-hmm. Well, I don't still have the one I had when I was a kid. I got a new one.
Oh, you got a new one, right?
And I also got, it's new to me, extremely used, but it still works. And I also have a Super Nintendo, which I wanted to, which I can bring. I'll bring that over next time.
Definitely
come over. You don't still have one, do you?
I don't. My saddest day, back before the movie theater, and I got in a lot of trouble, was that I had to sell my Super Nintendo because I needed the money.
Oh.
And it was such a shame. I had such good games on that. So many games. Like, some rare games. Like, that was something we focused on. It was our only gaming system for a long time.
Right.
And, that's going through, like, the 2000s. The PS2s have been out.
Dude.
Gone.
Dude. I wish I hadn't sold mine, because I've been spending way too much time trying to track down my childhood. Although it's worth it to me.
Definitely.
But at Vintage Stock, they have a copy of Super Metroid. And I was like, they're like, you want to buy it? I was like, hell yeah, I want to buy it. And they're like, cool, $100. I'm like, no, I'll get it for $10.
Yeah.
As much fun as it would be to actually have it, a physical copy. Although I remember on Amazon, somebody was selling a brand new, like a never opened one. Although I don't know if they were telling the truth or not.
Right.
But man, to have that. Have the instruction booklet, have the cover. Oh, like,
that's stuff of dreams.
Yeah, I still dream about that one.
But no, that's a game. If $100 at Vintage Stock, you should like keep an eye on eBay every so often. Just check and see. You'll find someone who's just like, I got this game. So I see people want to pay a lot.
Yeah,
$20.
Yeah. Have you ever heard of the most valuable game?
Is it E.T.?
No, they got a hole. They dug a hole and found a lot of them.
Ah, man, they inflated the market.
Yeah. No, it's this stupid. It's a terrible sports game, but I mean, it was ahead of its time because they had like this little pad, like it was some sort of Olympic game, where like you could run on it, or you could stop really fast on it and make the character run. You could do all these weird things.
I vaguely remember this.
But
this was before the Wii?
This was like NES.
NES?
Yes. Ooh. And it was this stupid, terrible game. But for some stupid reason, the game was sold like last year or a year and a half ago. It was sold to a collector for $250,000.
Wow.
Yes, there is a small but rich market of people that think that this game has some sort of extra value to it, and this lady found it at like a vintage stock type thing, and the people didn't know what it was, so it was like $5.
That's why I like going to garage sales and stuff, because people never know what they got. They're like, look at my junk, buy it for a quarter.
And she got it for $5. They paid off all their debt, got a new house, and
rock on for her.
Like,
man.
she had to get it verified, so she went to like to like a pawn shop, and they're like, we will give you all the money we have in the drawer, and she's like, nope, I'm selling this to freaking Bill Gates or something.
It's like, I already have a buyer, so I'm gonna go to them unless you can beat them.
Yeah.
No? Okay, going to them.
Oh man,
that's insane.
I mean, a valuable game to me would be Super Metroid, or something that has good gameplay, or something that is not stupid like that, whatever game that was.
Yeah, I'd be like Super Mario RPG on the Super Nintendo.
Secret of Mana or Chrono Trigger.
Yeah. Otherwise, it'd really just be some really basic games from any Super Nintendo and 64. Like, they wouldn't be games that people would be like, oh, that's rare.
If you had told me that story, I would have thought that it was like a unopened signed copy from Shigeru Miyamoto of Super Mario Brothers 1.
Now that would be amazing.
That would be worth $250,000 to me.
Yeah,
but
that wouldn't ever be opened if it was previously never opened. That would be encased in glass and put on display.
But speaking of rich people, we'll close with this. Have you ever heard of Neil deGrasse Tyson?
Yes.
I don't think he's that rich, but he presented this question to a group of college students, and he said, "Here's a demonstration of how rich Bill Gates is." He said, "Assume you're walking down the street and you look down and you see some sort of coin, like some sort of dollar, not a dollar, but like some sort of money in coin form on the ground. How much would it have to be for you to stop dead in your tracks, pick it up, and keep going?"
Oh,
that was the question, but how much would it be for you?
I'm cheap, dude. I'll pick up a penny.
Really?
Okay. I totally will.
Well, he said, I wouldn't pick up a penny. He said, a dime is kind of iffy, but a quarter he would stop and pick up. He said, I did a ratio of my income to Bill Gates' income. And the amount of money that, he said, the ratio that would be a quarter to him, he's like, for Bill Gates, it would be $45,000.
Wow.
And he's like, just imagine walking down the street and seeing that, and Bill Gates like, sorry, I don't have time. Somebody else pick it up. I don't have time for that. I gotta go.
Right behind him, like, okie dokie, yes sir. Pick that up.
That's a crazy amount of money, and that is money that you and I will never understand, unfortunately.
Someday I really as much
as I believe in the podcasts that we have going on, I don't think we're gonna get Bill Gates rich.
No, I don't ever expect to make money from the podcasts. But, maybe one day I'll break even with that. And at this point, I just don't see it happening. But it sure is a lot of fun. So I'm gonna keep doing it.
No, it's fun. I love listening to you guys. I'm glad that I guess you guys have adopted me into your network. I didn't know you guys were going to be doing a network. It sounds like you don't either.
I wasn't planning on it. Everyone just kind of
It seems like it was sprung on you the episode that was sprung on me.
Yeah, nobody tells me these things. They're like, oh yeah, we want to do this.
Which, I mean, it's not that big a deal. It's just going to be like, have a Facebook group or a Facebook page with all our links to it.
Yeah. I mean, I just try to share. Yeah. I try to share everybody's stuff, all our guest stuff, all the people I know doing stuff, bands, podcasts, whatever.
Which I was surprised. The poems are really good about that. They help everyone out.
They are.
You guys help us out a lot.
I just got to see it. If I don't see it, I can't share it.
I've helped you guys out. I have Warrior shirt at Kane's Ballroom.
So awesome. It's so cool.
Which, did you get the pictures I sent you
Yeah,
that?
I think I posted one on the Instagram, maybe on the Facebook.
Ooh,
I'll have to
re-download Instagram to see which one you posted.
I've been trying to do our Instagram. I've been failing at it for like 3 weeks now. It's like I set it all up and was like, all right, here's a picture. I'll do another one in a few days, and a few days is gone and passed. And
yeah, that's 3 weeks ago.
Yeah. And then the whole Stitcher thing, I haven't posted about that, and they gave me a link.
You posted about it now.
So
assuming I get this uploaded before you post about it.
I'll probably do it tomorrow. It'll be one of my at-work
So
things.
3 weeks from now.
Yeah. Man, that's how bad I am with social media. I don't get it. If I want to talk to someone, I'm going to call, text, or, I'm going to get a hold of you. Mm-hmm. And I'd rather talk in person.
Right.
I'm not one to just share my thoughts with an unknown. Well, that's not true. I have podcasts. I don't know.
You don't put it in writing.
Yeah, I don't like the medium of putting out writing for people to mess with.
Yeah.
I'll put out words. I like to talk, and I don't think a lot when I talk. Like that whole Luciferian thing, pretty sure I totally messed all that up and got it.
Oh, I know I did, because I'm not a Luciferian.
But, that's part of it, I guess, so.
Yeah. Well.
Keep doing it.
Anyway, give Tales from Tulsa and Dead Hour podcast a listen. Both of those are on iTunes and SoundCloud.
And then Tales from Tulsa is also on Satchel and Stitcher, if you use those apps.
Grindr.
We are not on Grindr
yet.
Ryan or Jesse will get us on that.
Jesse will spring that on you.
I'm not taking that one.
Yeah. Anyway, this has been. I almost said Tales from Tulsa. This room has got me.
I think you said it in the beginning.
Really?
I think so.
You're right, because I haven't said rhythm section today. Anyway, this has been the rhythm section. Maybe I'll go back and edit. Nah, I won't. That's funny. Anyway, this has been the rhythm section. Go check out Jordan Catlin's stuff.
Check out the podcast. Don't go to my name.
Check out the podcast. And you know what? Since I said this was Tales from Tulsa, we'll end it the way you guys always end it. Although we did... Actually, I don't think this game's ever been played with you. We'll go along. Who cares?
Oh, no. Let's go
okay. Who is your favorite movie serial killer?
I don't know if I did ever answer that. I'm going to go with Mickey from Natural Born Killers.
Ooh.
That's going to be my answer this time, because that's the movie I've been wanting to watch.
I don't think I've heard anyone say that one yet.
I haven't on Tales from Tulsa yet.
Had you heard anyone say Xenomorphs from Alien?
No,
you haven't?
The Xenomorphs.
Yeah, they're my favorite, by far. I always root for them when it's Alien versus Predator, even over the humans. I'm like, go Xenomorphs. What's the other one? Who's your favorite, or if you had a superpower, what would it be?
See, now mine's changed just a little bit, asking this on Tales from Tulsa, and hearing other people's answers and their thought process. I always like Wolverine,
the regenerative,
the skeleton, the adamantium skeleton.
So just his whole thing.
The strength, the senses, just all of it. I thought it was great. Except I wanted. Oh, see, I can't add it now because that's still my answer. But we had a guy come on and say they wanted to have the ability to morph. Mm-hmm. And as we started discussing it, like, what are the terms of your morphing? Could you morph into...
Was that Riley?
I think so. But we were like, could you morph into Wolverine and then have the powers of Wolverine? Or could you was it Mystique where you just kind of had it, but it really wasn't strong enough or anything like that? So, I mean, I'd almost pick the morph, but since I already said Wolverine, I'm going to go with that.
All right.
I like that one.
Then, finally, what's your favorite episode of The Simpsons?
It's from early on. I think it's called Bart vs. Nelson. And it's where Bart I guess he finally stands up to Nelson, and he ends up rallying the whole neighborhood. They bring in Grandpa Simpson. I think it's Herman, the one-armed army surplus store owner who's always being really weird and shady looking. Yeah. And then they just destroy Nelson with a bunch of water balloons from the tree house, and they surround him. I think it was like one of the first 3 or 4 seasons too. Just one of my favorites.
Oh, okay. And here's a question I forgot to ask last week, but what was your first ever music album that you bought?
First one that I bought, I'm a '90s family. We got one of those music catalogs, like pay a penny for these.
I remember
15
those
albums.
I remember those.
And then you have to buy them at outrageous prices for the next year or so every month.
Right.
So we did one of those. I picked a Slipknot self-titled, Korn, Follow the Leader, and there's one other one. I think it was Rob Zombie, his first solo album. I think it was those three.
Okay.
Wow. I hadn't thought about that in a long time.
Well, that's why I like asking those questions. For me, it was first album, at least that I remember buying, was Satellite by P.O.D.
P.O.D.
You remember them?
I do remember them.
Yeah.
Was it Paid on Death or Payable,
Payable
on
on Death, which, I mean...
I saw them live somewhere.
Really?
Yeah. I want to say like the Maybe Center or something. It's just kind of it was a weird place, but it was stadium.
It would be a weird place for you.
Like,
Maybe Center is the Oral Roberts University basketball gym.
I've actually been there for a religious function once, and it was extremely awkward.
Well, yeah, I mean, I'm a Christian. It's awkward for me to go to those things sometimes, especially at ORU.
Yeah, they're a different breed. Man, I've got a weird story about an ORU student one night at like 3 a.m. at a Walmart.
The Walmart across the street from ORU? That's a weird place.
Because I used to live like 2 miles down at 81st and Sheridan.
Mm-hmm.
And me and a buddy were drinking late one night. We went there to go get a snack because we were hungry. And we started talking relationships with this random guy at like the produce section. And he ended up, because me and my buddy had different types of relationships going on at the time, so we both had opposing views that we could give him to help him with the girl that just broke up with him. And by the end of it, he was like, well, thanks for talking to me, guys. Handed us $10 and then just walked away. And we're sitting there just like, oh, nice to meet you. What just happened? And then he left and it was just like, oh, okay, well now we got money to buy the snacks we want.
Maybe he's an angel watching out for you.
Ooh, wanted to hear us clarify on our relationship statuses at the time.
Oh.
Which have both completely changed since then.
Well, I'll
Sorry,
next time I'm on the show, you'll all have to ask me about some ORU stories. I got some pretty funny ones.
Definitely.
I was not a shining example of an ORU student. I have a feeling that if I ever do become famous, they will not invite me back to speak at chapel. They will not. Whatever. I don't care. I didn't like chapel anyway. So anyway, I'm going to end with that. Thanks for listening, everyone. And if you are also a listener to Tales from Tulsa, always remember, don't panic.